everybody, and welcome back to another episode. Today, I've got Phillip Hogan on the show. He is the founder and CEO of Signing Services of America. They're a nationwide notary signing service with a robust database of attorneys, compliant notary signing agents, auto, escrow, law firms, title insurance agencies, you name it. They've got enormous pressure to prepare and close their loans on time. Phillip recognized the need for virtual partners able to schedule and manage remote signings in a beneficial, convenient manner, and he's taking advantage of that. Today, they've got over 65,000 signing agents in his database, and Phillip has created a company dedicated to excellence, creativity, and long-lasting relationships. We're going to get into more of that today. Phillip, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you because there's a big need for this. I remember when we would go out and I was having to get notaries all the time, especially when we scaled our real estate business and we were having to close like 40, 50 transactions a year. The whole notary thing became just a nightmare. And we had to move to this virtual model to basically keep up with what we were doing because it became such a hassle. So very excited to get into that with you a little bit more. For those that don't know who you are, what's your story?
Well, my story really starts with, my grandparents are immigrants from a small country named the Montserrat in the Caribbean, British West Indies, and they migrated to this country back, gosh, in the early 1900s in Harlem. And they were the visionaries for their family because every family member in the family on the island migrated to Harlem as well and really settled into her apartment. And that was the migration trail for West Indians coming from Montserrat. So my grandparents were visionaries, and they have instilled that seed in every generation of family members thereafter. And I ultimately became an entrepreneur as a result of their vision and their seed. And so in 2016, I started Signing Services of America. But before then, I also in 2013, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, stage one. And when you hear the word cancer, it's like, oh my gosh, you just you freeze
Yeah.
and I froze and I was afraid. I thought that I didn't know anything about prostate cancer, and I didn't know what type of treatment there was, and what was the success of the treatment. What should I have the organ removed? Should I? It was just a number of questions that I had, and I just want to share one story with you, one segment of this journey, which is my urologist. And when I was going to see my urologist on a regular basis, he was saying, he would take my PSAs, prostate specific antigen test, and he was seeing the numbers increase. And every year I said, okay, well, he wanted me to do a biopsy. And I said, okay, well, I'll get it done. And so he was like, okay, fine. Until in 2013, I came in for a test and the numbers increased. And he said, Mr. Hogan, he says, you've come in to my office over the past 2 years, and I've said to you the same thing that I'm saying to you now, that we need to get this biopsy done. And if you're not willing to do it today, there's nothing else that I can say to you. So would you please leave my office? And I was stunned. No doctor had ever spoken to me like that before. And I left. But his words and his sentiment had really moved me to the point to this man is serious, Phillip. So you need to go and get a biopsy. And I'm glad I did, because we found out we were stage one prostate cancer. And then, I went on the process of finding out what was the best type of treatment that would allow me to kill this thing.
Uh-huh.
Would I did I have the organ removed? Would I have other type of treatment? So I settled for having what's called radioactive seeds implanted into the prostate.
Hmm.
And great clinic, one of the best clinics in the world, was right here in Georgia. And so I had the procedure, and I'm now cancer free. And I really owe it to my urologist, because he was passionate enough for my life and his career to say, I have a person who's stubborn, who is not taking this matter seriously, and
Yeah.
I need to say something for him to realize what he needs to do and what he's playing with. And as a result, I took his advice. So that's a very really big part of my story, because that attitude has also catapulted me to be a successful business owner.
Why do you think you were so against the biopsy. 'Cause I see this so often. It's funny. We as human beings, when we find out that somebody we care about has a potential life-threatening disease, or maybe just their cholesterol is kind of, or we just know they're unhealthy and they haven't been to the doctor 5 years, we pressure the heck out of them to go and get it attuned. But when it comes to ourselves, we're
Mm.
we just don't have that same level of concern for some reason. Why did it take so long for you to pull the trigger on this after the doctor had been telling you this for 2 years?
Well, it's the big thing. It's the point of concern. It's like, well, okay, I'm okay. I was young, much younger then. I'm in my 60s now. Back then, I was in my 40s, and so I thought that I was invincible. And as a young man, that's kind of like how many men live. That we think that we can beat anything, and I'm a Superman. And so that was a big part of who I was. It was also denial was another factor. It's like this can't possibly happen to me. I look at me.
Yeah,
I look well. I'm functioning well. I'm okay. There's no issues. What are you talking about? Are you serious? It's like, and so that's why it's important to get checkups because what may be going on inside may not show out on the outside.
yeah,
And thank goodness I did. But that was the biggest reason. That one was really denial.
denial. So you didn't
Yeah.
want to believe it.
Nope. I didn't. I
Yeah,
said, how could this happen to me? Look at me. I mean, at the time I was saying, look, I'm fit, I'm fun, I'm living a very robust life. How could I possibly have cancer? How could this be? Is this something must be going on? Something else must be going on. And then,
yeah,
the elder man of my family died early, so I don't have any history, male history in terms of, if there's a prostate cancer in my family.
mhm.
So I had no one to go to who could really talk to about that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a sensitive subject for men for sure.
Mm.
We don't like the term cancer. We don't like, oh, we need something, right? We're vulnerable. We have something, like you said, like we all think we're Superman, right? Head of the household, nothing's gonna happen to us. What was
That's
the
right.
battle with cancer like? How did that change your life?
Oh my goodness. Gosh, when when this was 2013 and in the same year I was introduced to CrossFit. My nephew was a captain in the army. He came home and one day we're talking, he said, Uncle Philip, you need to check out CrossFit. And I did. And that really was the foundation for me to have such a great recovery from my prostate cancer treatment because shortly after I started CrossFit, I got the biopsy, and then we started the method to walk toward what type of treatment should I get. And like I said, I mentioned earlier that I wanted to have the seeds implanted. And so we had the seeds implanted. It was successful surgery, ambulatory surgery at that. And when I kept going back for checkups daily, weekly, biweekly, eventually monthly. And my oncologist was saying, "Listen, Philip, your body's recovering really well. What are you doing? You don't have
Mm,
any of the
mhm.
symptoms that
Yeah.
other men have." And I told him I was doing CrossFit. So he said, "Whatever." He said, "Then if that's what you're doing, you need to keep it going." And I ran with that. And so that was the beginning to building another chapter in my life about really transforming my body into something that would give me the comfort and the longevity that I hope to gain in life. And that was so the prostate cancer diagnosis not only saved my life, but also it helped me save other men's lives because then I became ambassador where I would go to events talking to men and their families about prostate cancer and being a prostate cancer awareness. What is it? How do you combat it? How do you identify it? How do you deal with it? And there's a lot of men out here who are completely paranoid about this topic
Yeah.
because of all that goes along with it. And but that was all part of the transformation for Philip to go through to become the person that I am.
And guys, if y'all are listening to this, you need to hop on the YouTube and look at this guy. He says he's over 60. I thought he was 41. So whatever he's doing, diet and exercise wise, about to get this man's routine. Before this doctor told you, Philip, whatever you're doing, working, and
Mm.
CrossFit seemed to be a big part of that. What was going through your head? What were you thinking during this process after you had come to terms with having cancer?
Well, it was once you once you're diagnosed and you're informed, then for me it was a period of confusion, anger, remorse, guilt,
Yeah.
and ultimately, well, what am I going to do? Right. And so I began talking to other medical professionals, and I did a lot of research. Thank goodness for the internet, because it was the place for me to really find the ultimately the treatment that I decided to take. But many people were pushing me to have my organ removed. And I said,
Yeah.
well, hey, I'm just too young for that. I'm just, first of all, stage one, so it wasn't that severe, thank goodness. Secondly,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
too young. And I'm so happy that I didn't do that. But there were a lot of people who were pushing me. You need to have it removed, because if you don't, it could come back, yada, yada, yada. And I said, even the oncologist said, he said, Philip, this is a slow growing cancer. So, you could take your time and do this treatment, because it's a slow growing cancer. And I said, you know what, doctor, thank you for that. But I know me, let's go ahead and get this done now. So when I finally decided to have the radioactive seeds implanted, it's because I did a tremendous amount of research to find out what was the best option for me, for a man with my development stage of cancer, my age, and my health conditions. And every indicator said that, getting the radioactive seeds implanted was the best thing for me to do. And I'm glad I did.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, congratulations on the full recovery. And like I said, you
Thank you.
definitely don't look like you've ever had it or have it because you look extremely healthy. I want to transition now into how you've grown your business. So that alone, overcoming cancer, is just
Mm,
a feat in and of itself. It sucks the
mm.
life out of you. It can just mentally drain you, and you overcame that. How did you get into doing what you're doing now? How did you see the need for these virtual and mobile notary services?
In 2014, I became a mobile notary, and I as a result, because someone came to I purchased a car from out of state, and instead of me traveling to California to sign the deal, the finance manager for the dealership sent the notary to my home with the documents, and we sat in my living room, and I closed on the automobile. And I was fascinated with the fact that this was a mobile notary. I know about notary, but I didn't know anybody could come to your home. And so I said, listen, before you leave, would you please tell me a little bit more about how you became to do this? As just like you're so inquisitive, so was I. And he was kind enough to explain to me how he became to be a mobile notary, what he needed to do to become a mobile notary, and the financial benefits of becoming a mobile notary. And I was interested in starting a business. And I said, okay, this is something that I can do. So literally the next day I began the process of becoming a traveling notary, got my notary commission, understood what needed to be done, began marketing, telephone started ringing. And before you know it, people began calling me, and that my phone kept ringing, and this kept growing. And so my business as an individual notary scaled, and to the point where I landed a huge contract in Clearwater, Florida. It was a national title company, and they were sending me a lot of business, and they specifically wanted to really grow their business in Georgia. And they thought that
Mhm.
I could be the person that could help them with that journey. And I said, by all means, but I couldn't do it alone. So I talked around and sort of like asked people, well, what should I do? How should I do it? Can it be done? And everyone came back to, you got to start a signing service. I had no idea what a signing service was, but I said,
Mhm.
well, listen, if this is a company who wants to use me, then and I want to partner with them, then this is what I need to do. So in 2016, of February 2016, I started Signing Services of America with a major account that was sending us business literally the next day. And that's how we got started. And
Wow.
so from there,
Okay.
yeah,
So you started in 2016. You had, I
yes,
mean, who was this major business? Like, was it a law firm?
sure.
And like, how big are we
No,
talking? Like, how much business were they needing you to handle? Like, how many daily visits, et cetera?
we were making mid five figures in February 2016. Literally that month, I mean March. You think we built the we sent invoices out the first day of the following month. So in in March, in April, we were billing them like $7,500, 75 to $10,000.
Yeah.
And then it just began to grow. And that's just kind of like unheard of for a startup of this type to be making that type of money literally, and within the first 90 days was
Yeah.
extremely impressive. And the name of the company is Linder Title Solutions in Clearwater, Florida. And since then, they have gone out of business. We are still here. And since then, and since 2016, we have hired over 32,000 notaries, and we've done over $1 billion in various mortgage transactions throughout the country.
That's wild. So, man, walk me through 65,000 hires, or maybe that's like partnerships. Walk me through, what does that look like to scale? Because I can't even imagine. Like we do a lot of land development. We invent new first time home buyer housing communities here in Nashville, Tennessee. Like that's what we do. And I've done, our general contracting firm has handled a lot of these developments. We've got people on the capital raising team, people on the acquisitions team. I can't even imagine what it would look like scaling our team to like $65,000, 65,000 people. That is an enormous undertaking. How did you guys go about tackling that?
Well, our reputations for one, and as you know, in business, everybody wants to be involved with the success story. And so as we grew, it was pushing us to scale even more because the demand for our product was there. And so we began networking and doing a lot of social media marketing. And, notaries began to become attracted to the services that not only the service, but how we operate, right? In this business, we are the contractor, and the notaries are the subcontractors, and the subcontractors subcontract their product or their services to many different contractors.
Okay.
And
Yep.
so contractors treat notaries very differently, and we happen to be a company who values the relationship between my company and the notaries. And so notaries talk, and then notaries began reaching out to us, and more notaries began wanting to sign up with us. And that's how we grew. It's really, we had to lay the groundwork. Our core principles are integrity, accountability, and we also are tremendously self-reliant, and we're problem solvers, and we're big educators. We have a Tuesday night NSA Tuesday night notary signing agent training call that we conduct for notaries throughout the country, and it's free of charge. And we invite notaries to come on so they can learn more about who we are, how we operate, and be able to answer some of their questions and concerns they may have about any of the orders that they receive from us. And that has really grown. That has become a very well attended training site where notaries are feeling as though they're appreciated, they're accepted, and they feel empowered when they leave. And so those are the strategies that we've deployed to be able to have such a rich, robust database that we do.
So you guys are like the general contractor, and everyone who's a notary around the country, 65,000 subcontractors that you partnership or with around there. What does growing the business look like? How did you grow the business to need 65,000 subcontractors to be able to handle the business? I mean, that's a lot of people. How are you going about hiring the customer base to be able to grow the company that large?
Sure. Sure. Now the database is 65,000. Now we have only worked with 32,000 over the 8-year period. So just
Okay.
want to be very clear. 5,000 notaries, but we've only worked with 32,000. And so with our marketing plans, our marketing strategies, social media has been a big part. Word of mouth has been a big part. I attend various type of industry specific conferences. There may be there's a huge conference that's done annually throughout the country called the National Settlement Services Conference, where those of us that work in the settlement services industry will come, learn, network, fellowship, and do business. And that was that was a turning point in 2019. That was a turning point for us. And then we have other smaller conferences titled the Land Title Association. Land Title Association conferences are held in individual states. Tennessee is a very popular state. Florida is another one. Texas is another one, and I've attended those. And so you collect business cards and you network with individuals, and you get to meet people, and then people go to your website and they learn a little more about you, and they become intrigued and they want to do business with you. And then once you start doing business with one person, now that
Hmm.
person wants to. In this business, you have individuals who work in offices. So I may meet one person who works in an office with maybe five other people. And those
Yeah.
five people, those six people will send business to different companies. Well, our goal is that once we get inside that office, we'll start working with one person. Then all of a sudden, that one person starts telling those other individuals, "Hey, this company's doing really good work. I like
Uh-huh.
their service. I like their fees. Yada yada yada." And so, therefore, I think you should start using them. So now, what we've been able to do is convert that entire office to start working with my company.
Yeah. Got several questions here.
Sure.
One is there a particular niche that you notice you work with more? Is it title companies? Is it attorneys? Is it real estate investors? Or is there a healthy mix?
Hmm. More the primary revenue stream is from the mortgage industry, so title and insurance companies
Okay.
and
Yeah.
escrow offices are the number one. Then of course law firms are second. Realtors, we're really beginning to get more business with realtors. What we're doing is going in actually conducting trainings to the real estate offices and letting
Yeah.
them know that when you do your mail outs, you don't have to find a notary. You got us. Just
Yeah.
this is who we are. This is how we do it. Contact us and we'll do all the heavy lifting for you.
Okay, got it. Yeah, everything seems to be moving. Like COVID especially pushed everything to a virtual model, right? No longer showing up
Mm,
at the closing table. Hey, look, you can close on a house from your home. Actually, we'll bring like the paperwork. There's huge value in that. What I want to know is this: since
hmm
you're in a field where you're relying on subcontractors, and it sounds like you've got
hmm
this robust training platform, what's really difficult? What I've discovered that's really difficult with like we have a general contracting business, right? HBG Construction does all of our own developments, and every subcontractor has their own business, but they are an
hmm
extension of the general contractor. When I send one of those subcontractors to show up and do a warranty for the homeowner whose home we sold them, they're not looking at ABC uh, plumbing. They're looking at
hmm
HBG Construction when they come up. And so what's
hmm
been difficult is how do we get the HBG Construction brand into that subcontractor and have them do it our way, right? And so what's
hmm
the problem that I've had, kind of break it down in a few words, is if you've got $65,000, I keep saying $65,000. If you have 32,000 notaries across the United States you guys work with, and the
hmm
market is like 65,000, they're all individual subcontractors that have their own way of doing things. How do you bring their or brand, your brand experience with your company? How do you make sure that they follow that customer experience roadmap to give them a good experience rather than them, run it how they want to run it?
Sure. And I thank you
That
for asking
making
that question.
sense?
Yes, it is. Makes a lot of sense. And been asked that question a lot of times. And so one of the things that we do is we get our notaries to buy into our way of doing business.
Okay.
And we help them to understand that while I understand you are a subcontractor, you are now, when you accept our orders, you're working for my company. And if you're going to work for my company, these are the standards that we operate. And since you're an extension of our company, you have to embrace those same standards. And if you're unwilling to do that, then we're not going to be able to work together. And that's
So
fine.
you've got a training, right? You train them, you do it. How do you implement accountability?
Yeah, the training is done, once they have come aboard. The initial outreach to the notary, it consists of that buy-in conversation. The initial conversation, we talk about the policy is that this is who we are, this is how we operate. Are you willing to agree to these terms? And many say, no, you know what, I just can't do that. That's just, I don't want to rise up to that standard. And that's okay. It's fine. Okay, you don't want to work, that's fine. Oh, move on. I'm glad we're having this conversation. But for those that they have found it to be a very rewarding experience because they get so much more out of it than just a paycheck, right?
Yeah.
They get training, they're getting access to me, they're getting access to our resources. So we're promoting all of these things when we do that initial onboarding conversation.
Okay,
And we
so
don't look at
expect
any differently than I'm sorry, we don't look at any differently than hiring someone. When you're hiring a full-time employee, well, at the hiring table, right? These are the things that we are providing. These are the values that we're providing. These are our policies. How do you feel about these? What are your thoughts? And so we have a conversation. So although the independent contractor is working for themselves, we still take that same approach because it's important that people understand that you're a part of the Signing Service America team. And as a team, these are the ways that we want to win. These are ways that we have won, and these are things that we need to continue to do to continue winning.
how do you keep them accountable
How do you again,
to your
it's
expectations and everything? Like, how do you know that they're, performing out there? Because everything's kind of virtual, right? It's not like they're showing up to an office or, they got like a manager.
So there's a couple of ways. There's a couple of ways. And so one is that our scheduling software allows us to monitor the movements of our notaries, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
there's a system that gives us the progression of the file. That's one way. Secondly, is that we do things a little differently, and we don't have a problem reaching out and touching somebody, right? In your case, you would have someone going out to the work site to monitor what's going on with those contractors or
Right.
some with those subcontractors, right? And you want to make sure, okay, if we hired five subcontractors, are those five subcontractors are they on the job site? And are they doing what we want them to do? Are they in the progress? Are they in the progression of the work order by a certain time, date, and week, a certain day, time of the week? So, it's important that subcontractors know that someone's watching over you, right? Someone's watching over them, right? If you leave subcontractors out to doing their own thing, then you can't have them, the accountability factor becomes an issue because you're hoping that people will meet your expectations, but no one is monitoring them. You've got to have boots on the ground that are going in literally uncalled, literally unannounced, and
Yeah.
then just checking up. And it works, because when people realize, oh shoot, he's checking on me. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, he came yesterday. Okay. Well, hey boys, listen, we got to get going because he may come back today. And you
Got
don't
it.
come back today. You don't come back the next day. You come back the following day at a different time because they were expecting you to come the second day, so they're ready for you. The third day is
Yeah.
so so that's how it goes.
Where do you see the most value that you deliver? Who's it to? You mentioned these settlement services. And
Mm,
I'm trying to kind of dig around here because I'm kind of curious. Is it
mhm.
really is it like the homeowners not having to show up at the closing table and sign documents in front of the attorney and notary, and your team's going out, to the homeowner's house for closing these real
Mhm.
estate transactions? Are there any other situations or circumstances that you see where you're able to add a lot of value that maybe people who are listening that do get notaries maybe aren't paying attention to or don't know about?
Sure. So we have very little communication and contact with the homeowner, right? The deal is arranged between the lender and the title company to the homeowner. When I say the deal, meaning the date and time and signing location, that's all done for us. Our role is to then come in to find a notary to go to your home at that particular time, date, and location to get the document signed. So the value that we really add are to our title agents, our title company clients, and of course our notaries. And let me give you an example. We got a
Yeah.
call from a client down in Florida, and we had what's called a split signing. We have multiple signers signing in different states, right? And so when the notaries at the table, come to find out that one of the signers' name, just say fictitiously, was Mary James. However, when the title was prepared, Mary Mary James was a name on the title, but then she's gotten married. So now her name is Mary Edwards. And so the license says Mary Edwards, but the documents say Mary James, Mary James. So we got a call from the notary. I had to call the client and say, hey, listen, by the way, Mary James is now Mary Edwards, and she cannot sign these documents because her name is now Mary Edwards. She said, what do you propose we do? Well, I said, okay, we could put together what's called otherwise known as document or AKA. And there's a simple document stating that Mary James and Mary Edwards are one of the same individuals. So she prepared that document, sent it to me, we sent it to the notary, deal got done. So that's the kind of problem solving that we provide to our clients, right? Sometimes they really don't know the state laws, they don't know certain circumstances, and we have to nudge them in the direction that they need to go in to get the deal done. And that's what happened there. And there are many other times that there are very various notarial laws throughout the country, and we have to know the states and those notarial laws. And sometimes some states require us to hire an attorney to do certain real estate transactions, and other states allow us to hire a notary. Our clients may not know that. So they come to us and say, hey, listen, how can we, who can we, how do we? And then we say what they need to know. And then they say, okay, well, thank you, as Signing Services America. They'll proceed. And the other source that really benefits from us are the notaries, because we're investing time in them. You understand? We're making people feel, we're empowering people. We're making people become more accountable, and the notaries are really benefiting from it, because what they learn from us, they can take those same lessons and apply it to their other clients. We don't prohibit them to say, oh, you can only apply this to working with SSA. This is who you are, right? So that's why I say our clients and our notaries are the number one and two benefactors of our services.
That's very cool. Phillip, it's been a pleasure having you. If people want to learn more about you, learn more about your company, learn more about your services, where should they go?
Signingservicesofamerica.com, www.signingservicesofamerica.com. Please scroll down to the bottom of the website. There you'll see a form to conduct a consultation call with me. Please fill that in. It'll come to me. I'll give you a call, and we'd love to be able to talk about what are your needs and how we can help you.
Right on. We'll make sure those get posted here at the show notes. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Yep, it's been a blast. And if you get value from this episode, if you're listening right now, show Phillip some love, show me some love, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, give us some love, share this with your friends and family. We'll see you next time.